If you guys need coins for the new Fut birthday promo, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a nice 5% discount. What's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some updated custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-2-3-1 formation. Probably my favourite all-round formation from every FIFA. It's the one I always feel the most comfortable with and it's one I usually go back to. So just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, as that does really help me out with the YouTube search algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. Alright then guys, so starting off with the custom tactics, as ever I suggest using balanced on the defensive style. This is because it is the most controlled and it allows you to be the best defensively in my opinion. You're able to press when you need to press, but you're also able to drop off and be a little bit more conservative when you need to be, which is why I think balanced is the best, because you do get more control using it, Now moving on to defensive width guys, I'm currently using this on 45. This is so we can primarily defend in a narrow shape, but at the same time we're also able to cover those wide areas and get out to the wings when we need to. So primarily we defend narrowly, which is very important so we can stop the attacks through the middle, but when somebody does go down the wings we're also able to reach those areas. Now moving on to the depth guys, I'm using this on 55, which might seem a little bit lower than I use usually, but basically the reason I'm using 55 at the moment was because I was noticing that my defensive line was just a little bit too high and I was getting through balled. I don't know if it was to do with like the different type of gameplay I was experiencing, but it was just really difficult to mark through balls, so I've had to lower depth to 55, so it's still nice and balanced where we can sometimes win the ball higher up the pitch, but it just stops us getting through balled as much. Now moving on to build up play guys, I'm currently using this on balanced. This is just because it is the most suited for all types of gameplay you might experience. Basically whenever you have like laggy gameplay or fast gameplay, balanced is the most consistent. Something like fast build-up is very good when the gameplay is quick and responsive, but as you guys know that very rarely is the case, so balanced is just the way to go unfortunately. Moving on to chance creation guys, I suggest using direct passing. This is just because it is the most meta option in FIFA 23. What it does is it makes your attacking players bunch up against the defenders, meaning you can do the really overpowered isolation plays. They also make the movement so you can get that extra pass off in the penalty box to guarantee those goals. Now some people don't like direct passing and that is fine. If you are one of those people, I would suggest using forward runs. Basically forward runs just pushes your team very far into your opponent's half. This can be good, but I just think when you lose the ball you're just way too exposed on the counter attack and I don't really like it. So direct passing or forward runs based on what you prefer really. Now moving on to the attacking width guys, I'm using this on 48. This is so we don't have such a narrow width to the point where our players are sitting on top of each other, and we also don't have the width too high, otherwise it becomes more like a 4-2-3-1 wide, which if we wanted that we would just use that. So we just keep that width just below 50 so we can still keep that narrow shape in attack without it being too narrow of course. As for players in box, I always have this on 6. This is so we can get some players into the box to create those chances, but we don't overcommit the entire team to the point where we get counter attack, so it is very useful to use. As for corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because there is a corner kick routine that I use which requires both of these to be on 1. There is a link to that in the top right hand corner of the screen. Now moving on to the players you want to use guys, in the striker position, because this is a one striker formation, I suggest using somebody that is nice and well rounded. This is because you have to compensate for the fact that there is one striker instead of 2, so you need to get that balance that you would get in 2 strikers all in one player. So just go for somebody that has good shooting, good dribbling, a decent weak foot, maybe even decent skill moves, just basically someone that can do a bit of everything in that striker position. Otherwise you might struggle a little bit if you use somebody that is not very more multi-dimensional. Is that a word? Not very varied. Oh god, I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, you know the types of players that I'm on about here. Now moving on to the cam, guys, you're going to want to use like a nice technical player. I'm really struggling to speak today, I do apologize. I've been basically writing like loads of code and that, so every time I try and speak English it's just like gibberish. So yeah, for the cam, use a nice technical player. This is somebody that is obviously going to be very good on the ball. You want somebody that can pass, shoot, dribble, basically do a bit of everything. You're not going to want to use somebody that is super clunky in this position, otherwise you're not going to be able to create a lot. Now moving on to the right cam and the left cam, you're going to want to use good winger style players. These are players with good skill moves, good dribbling, good pace, good shooting. You know the types of players we want to use here, like a Neymar, an Mbappe even, somebody like that. Just somebody very quick and good with the ball basically. Now moving on to the two CDMs, I like to go for a balance between the two, where I have Jorginho, who is a bit more defensive minded, so he's going to be a bit more inclined to sit back and break up the play for us. And then in the right CDM spot we have Paul Pogba, who is a bit more of a box-to-box player and will be able to attack and defend. So I just like to have that dynamic between the two. On your more defensive player, it's like beneficial to have a medium-high work rate, so they really aren't that bothered about going forward, but they do contribute a lot defensively. And the same with the right CDM, where you can get a high work rate if you can, so they have both good attack and defensive work rates. But don't worry too much if you can't get that. As for the left back and the right back, I like to go for a balance between the two, where I have Roberto Carlos, who's a bit more attacking minded and better on the ball. And then in the right back position, I have Cafu, who's a bit more defensively sound but maybe lacks that attacking ability. I just like to have that dynamic between the two. You guys don't have to copy that if you don't want. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, these just need to be as good as you can get them, really. There's not much to say there. Now moving on to player instructions, guys. On the striker, I just have him on stay central. The reason we do this is because we don't want him drifting off into those wide areas, especially since he is our only striker. We always need him to be in the central positions, so he's where the striker should be basically. If we have him on like balance whip, sometimes he'll just go really wide and you'll just be like, what are you doing? So yeah, on the cam, guys, we just have him on stay forward. This is something I've changed since the last time. This is just so we always have another outlet when we win the ball back, because usually if we have him on like basic defensive support, it's just the striker up on his own. So if you have the cam on stay forward, it just gives you another passing option of someone to aim for when you get the ball back, and it can be very good for transitional play. For the right cam and the left cam, we just have them on get into the box for cross. The reason we do this is because if you have them on balance crossing runs, that sometimes they're very static. When you do get to that penalty area, they'll be very hesitant to actually get involved. So by putting them on get into the box for cross, it means they will get involved and make those runs into the penalty area for us, which is super important. Now for both CDMs, I know I said they're different types of players, but I'm currently using them on just cover center and then default settings. Now the reason I'm doing this personally is to let my work rates carry these players. So for example, Jorginho is my more defensive minded CDM, and because he's got a medium high work rate, he's automatically going to defend more than he attacks, so I don't really need to use stay back while attacking. And if you're wondering why I have him on balanced attack anyway, it's just because he sometimes makes better movements and sits in better positions when you don't restrict him too much, and we kind of just let the work rate carry him. So that is why we're doing that. And the same with Pogba, you know, we want him to get forward a little bit more, so his high medium work rate is going to carry him there. And yeah, the only important thing is that we have them on cover center, so they are covering those central areas when we are defending. If you don't have like the perfect work rates on a player, for example, on the defensive play, you could just put them on stay back while attacking. That would be fine. And likewise, you can put them both on stay back if you really wanted to, but basically just edit that based on, you know, the types of players you have. As for the left back, my more attacking fullback, I actually have him on balanced attack and overlap. This is because although the 4-2-3-1 is wider than some other narrow formations, it's still quite a narrow formation, and sometimes we need to get that extra width when we are going forward. So balanced attack and overlap means this player is going to commit forward for us, and he's going to do the overlapping runs to add extra width to our attack, which is super useful. Now for the right back, our more defensive minded player, we have him on stay back while attacking and overlap. We have him on stay back while attacking, so we always at least have 3 at the back, so we're always like as defensively sound as we can be. And we also have him on overlap because let's say I do press L1 to trigger a run with him, we want him to make the overlapping runs to go wider instead of going narrow. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, these are just on default settings and we do not touch them, guys. But yeah, they are my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-2-3-1. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.